Put me in a room full of scholars, I abuse panels. Put me in a room full of rappers, it's balloons, candles, killing shit. I don't really think you understand who you dealing with. Crush your foundation, get your ceiling kicked. Post up at the garden, selling millionaires. Ron like 97 cannabis. Had to tap in with the spirits just to channel this. Blah. Peace, peace, family. We are back again. You know what I mean? And today we're gonna keep it light. We're gonna keep it light, but you know what I'm saying? I did have to touch in with the people one time before y'all go into y'all week, you know what I mean? Till y'all go into y'all moon day, Monday, you know what I mean? Um, yes, you see, astrology is all around you. You know what I mean? Astrology is all around you. It's in the months, it's in the days, it's in the calendar, it's in the Bible, it's in the Quran, you know what I'm saying? It's everywhere you look. It's astrology all around you. And that all comes from the Nile Valley civilizations. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. That's very true. You know what I mean? It's very true. Now, that's not what we are here to discuss today. Today, we are here to discuss the hustle of Thomas Sowell, right? And his minions. Thomas Sowell is a black conservative, and he's hailed as one of the greatest black conservatives of all time. You know, many white conservatives they love this guy. You know what I'm saying? They loved him, and they loved him since the '70s, right? Some would say even the '60s, the late '60s, right? Thomas Sowell has been an agent, you know, for the conservative party, right? Saying things that white conservatives cannot say. You know, he says it, right? He says it, and then they say, "Well, he said it. Well, he said it." See, if you follow Candace Owens, everybody know that I do rock with Candace Owens at times. You know what I mean? And Candace Owens, she is a student of Thomas Sowell. She is a student of Thomas Sowell. You know, so I know Thomas Sowell well. I'm not a person that doesn't know Thomas Sowell. I know Thomas Sowell well. I even knew Thomas Sowell before I knew Candace Owens, right? Because I read his book and I own his book, um, Basic Economics, right? I read that a long time ago, and although it holds many truths, you know, Thomas Sowell is puppeteered as the voice for the black conservatives, right? And he says things that many white Republicans want to say pertaining to black Americans, but if they said it, it wouldn't be politically correct, right? It may get them in some trouble, but if they pass you a Thomas Sowell book, then he said it, not me, right? Don't blame me. He said it. So Candace Owens, you know, she is a student of Thomas Sowell, and when she got put on the Daily Wire, one of her things was to always originally come with the Thomas Sowell rhetoric, right? And when she was coming with it, it was not unfamiliar to me because I've already heard that. You know, I was a student in the conscious community, but my theory and knowledge is to go wherever knowledge takes me. You know what I'm saying? That's one of my great master teachers used to tell me. That's what he used to say. So, you know, I will go anywhere knowledge takes me, as far as meaning I'm not afraid to go and be incorrect. I'm not afraid to be wrong, right? So many brothers or sisters, they'll get into um a certain school of thought. Like they may come into uh let's say the Kemetic school of thought, the Moorish school of thought, and or the Nation of Islam, and that be their foundation, right? Or you know what I'm saying, let's even use Christianity, or we could use you know, um Islam, Orthodox Islam, whatever it may be, you know, the conservative party, that's their foundation. That's their base. The foundation is the base, right? That's what you come into. You come into when you think of building a house, you have to have a strong foundation, right? Because when that wind comes, that's what keeps the house from collapsing, right? Is the foundation. And this is what your foundation is built on. This is the first. The foundation is the first, right? And they say, I'm one with my gun. I love him like my first son, right? You fell in love with your first, right? Your first is always the most important because it's your first. right? So as you fall in love with whatever school of thought you came into, many brothers and sisters who fall in love with this, and some people used to fall in love with the teacher, right? You'll find a person like uh, a Dr. Umar fan, right? Person that loves Dr. Umar, and he loves Dr. Umar because Dr. Umar was what brought him in. Maybe he was hustling on the streets, or he was into whatever he was into, but he came across Dr. Umar, and then he fell in love with Dr. Umar, and Dr. Umar was the main source of his foundation to take him into other realms of knowledge, right? Or it was Dr. Umar that he stuck with and stayed with the whole time, right? You have many people like this in the community. They fall in love with their foundation and they're afraid to get away from it, right? The fear of the unknown, right? That's what happens a lot. See, because I'm gonna tell you something. If you were born into a Christian household, right? Like I wasn't born into a Christian household. However, I was, but I wasn't, right? So I would go visit my grandmother, and my grandmother was diehard Christian. My papa was a preacher. No, my grandpa was a preacher. You know what I mean? So, um, obviously, when you know, my dad and my uncles had a bunch of kids. So when we would stay with my grandma's, it would be a bunch of us. And on Saturday, we would stay over on Saturday. Everybody get to stay over on Saturday. But on that Sunday morning, I don't care if you had a throwback jersey on. This is the early 2000s, obviously, right? Right. If you had whatever you had on, the next day you was going to church in that. That's how my grandma and papa got down. It didn't make a difference. You was going to church, nigga. You going to church. You feel me? So that's my Christian foundation, right? And so I learned later on that as I got into the conscious community, that it was hard for me to get away from that Christian foundation, right? Because at times I would build with some of the brothers who was selling final calls, right? Before I started dealing, like even getting into that school of thought, right? I would build with some of them, and it was hard for me to piece what they were saying because it was a part of me that wanted to naturally fight against what they were saying. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Naturally, it was the fear of the unknown, right? You hear God, Jesus, that's a sin, this is it. And then you talk to a brother, he say this and he say that, and it's coming different. It's something you ain't never heard, and your natural instinct is to push back on that. That's the fear of the unknown, right? That's natural. It's natural to fear what you unknown, the unknown, but it's still ignorant. Hear me out. See, when you look at many races, um, many races are not necessarily racist in the sense of they have knowledge on the people that they dislike. They're more uh, ignorant to the fact that they don't know this. They don't know this type of person, so they're more xenophobic, right? It's a fear of them type of people. I might have seen them on the TV, and that TV may have painted them like this, or I seen them on the news, and the news may have painted them like this. And that's why the university was so important, because when you send a kid to the university, you putting a white kid with a Spanish kid, the Spanish kid with the black kid with the gay kid with the Jewish kid with the Arab kid, and all of these people would be all of these racist individuals, all of these races and individuals of different archetypes and different sexualities and backgrounds would come together and purge. It was the clash of the higher learning, like when John Singleton made higher learning, right? It brought all of these races together, all of these groups together, and it allowed, and it was a place. The university became a place to crush xenophobia, right? It was a place to crush xenophobia because you were no longer afraid, right? If you were from a small town, if you were from small town Missouri and you was white, and now you in a dorm room with a black person and you never met black people, but all you ever seen was TV shows, and your family was like, oh, I don't know about them, I'm kind of scared of them. And then you had a black roommate and you left $50 or $200 on the counter, and then you was out one day with your people that you familiar with, your friends, right? And then the back of your mind it hits and say, oh man, I left that $200 on the counter. You jet back to the house to make sure that your black friend didn't steal it, because of what you've been told. They're thieves, they steal, right? And subconsciously you don't mean to be racist, but you don't mean this. This is unintentional, right? This is an unintentional prejudice. You jet back to the dorm room, and when you open up the dorm room, your black friend's right there playing the game, and he says, "Hey man, you forgot the $200. I figured you come back and get it." And you say, "Oh yeah, I did forget it." And then you grab that money, and then you say, "Hey, peace out, man. I'll see you later." And then when you hop in that car and you riding with your thoughts, riding alone, you start to question everything that mama and daddy taught you. You start to question the things and what the society might have put into your head and brainwash you through the weaponized media. And then you say, damn, I thought all black people steal. I thought all black people rob. I thought I thought LGBTQ community was all evil, but my LGBT professor actually helped me pass this test, right? Helped me pass this test. And he understood that I was just a young brother that has to work and juggle work in school, and he gave me a little bit more time on to prepare for that lecture or to prepare for that essay part itself, right? These type of things crush the xenophobia and the ignorance that's installed into the students before they come into the community. But your foundation is your foundation. So it's on you to crush that foundation. And until you crush that foundation, you can't get away from it. You can't accept anything new because your impulse is to reject the new, to reject the unfamiliar, right? So you have to go into it. So even though I came into the conscious community like this, I didn't stay in this school of thought. I went there, and then 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 I went there. So I can identify with all of these people, and I understand where they come from. I know exactly where they got it from because it's a lot of regurgitation, right? Because I used to do it at times. At times I did it. That wasn't real knowledge. That was regurgitation. I was a clone of the teacher, and then I became a teacher, and that's how it works, right? So when I see black people kicking this, and I'm like, yo, I know where you got that. Yeah, I know where you got that. So when I hear the Thomas Sowell, I listen to Candace Owens. I say, I hear Thomas Sowell, I know where she got that. But here's the issue: when Thomas Sowell is your only teacher, and you didn't get Dr. Claude Anderson, right? And you didn't get Dr. Claude Anderson, you didn't get Asa Hillard, you didn't get all of these other teachers, you didn't get Joy DeGrasse. Excuse me if I'm butchering her name. You didn't get all of these teachers. You didn't get sociology class. You didn't get psychology class from the university. Guess what happens? You are stuck in what you know as just Thomas Sowell. But guess what? We can debunk everything Thomas Sowell says because Thomas Sowell is linear thinking. And it sounds good if that's all you know, but if you have other schools of thought, you can crush everything Thomas Sowell says in 5 minutes. And I'll do it just now. I'll demonstrate it right now. See, Thomas Sowell says things that it would make perfect sense if you didn't know, right? So it would make perfect sense if you didn't know. For example, right? What's going on in the Middle East right now, right? What some would call the Middle East right now, right? Israel, Israel and Palestine, the conflict, right? You would never, a sane man, a logical thinking man that knows history, right, and knows world politics would never compare financially the Israelis to the Palestinians financially. You would never make that comparison, right? Because one group is in a higher bracket as far as ownership, right? Ownership is how you create money, right? Remember on Baby Boy when Jody and P they was at like the swap meet, right? They was at the little spot where, you know what I'm saying, I ain't never been to LA, so forgive me, but you know what I'm saying? They was at the spot where niggas is. It looked like it might be like a little swap meet, or maybe it was just a little hood, little plaza. You know what I'm saying? And John Singleton made the cameo. He came through. Anybody want Charlie CDs, DVDs? Charlie bought. You know what I'm saying? Charlie's Angels. You know what I'm saying? You remember that he made his cameo in that, right? And one thing that I'm gonna tell you too, this is just out off the record, right? This is just some theater history. In the Renaissance era, artists could not sign their work, so many times, uh, they would make a cameo in their work, right? You would see their face, and you would say, "Oh, that's Shakespeare's work. Oh, that's so and so's work," right? Just like when King James had Shakespeare, uh, allegedly be one of the translators of the King James English version of the Bible, he asked the translators not to put their names in, but Shakespeare still found a way to put his name into the King James version of the Bible. But I'm not gonna tell you how. I want you to do the knowledge on that. Fact check me. You know what I mean? Fact check me. Don't take nothing I say. Everything I say, take it, do the knowledge, fact check it, right? But when you take it, don't come don't come ready to be on the defense. I know that's natural, but take it in, listen to it. If it's weak, if you fact check it and it don't come back right in his act, throw it out. You know what I'm saying? But as you go fact check shit and you see me, oh damn, he said that was right. Damn, that was right. Damn, that was right. Then it become now we got a bond going, right? And now you trust your teacher a little bit more, right? But you still got to fact check. But now he become more of a reliable source, right? Now it become more of a reliable source, right? So that's one thing you have to work. So I say that to say, right? Um, Jody and P is sitting in this plaza, this parking lot, and Jody asked P and John Singleton, RP to John Singleton, one of the greatest directors, man. We really miss your work down here. We really do. And one thing he said was, Jody said to P, and Singleton was brilliant for putting this into the film. He said, "Hey, yo, P, how many billionaires you got on? Or how many millionaires you got on?" P said, "Nigga, what?" He said, "Bro, how many millionaires you got on?" I count about 5. He's counting up the brands, the name brands that they are wearing on their clothes, right? As they sit up in the plaza selling cigarettes, selling a little bit of weed here and there, you know what I'm saying, Don Sacks. They walking around wearing clothes from a billionaire, from a millionaire, right? The ownership. That was capitalism 101 put into the film Baby Boy. That was inspired by Dr. Chris Wilson, right? And we will build on that in the future. Um, but yes, John Singleton was brilliant for that. So when you look at the Black American, he doesn't own. He is the number one buyer. She is the number one buyer, the consumer. And as Dr. Claude Anderson would say, you know, in the first part of the word, consumer is the word consume. You are being consumed, right? You're being ate up. So the relationship is buyer, seller, right? This is a hip hop page. When you look at that certificate and you see the song Black Korea by Ice Cube, right? When you look at Latasha Harlins, who the song was inspired by, a young black 13-year-old girl who was gunned down by a Korean store owner that was in a black area, right? A predominantly black area, a historically black area, part of LA, early 90s. She was still in the orange juice and was uh, unalived by the store owner, hit in the back running. And in Columbia, South Carolina, this happened last year, right? At the store that I grew up going to, the store I grew up walking down to, right? Young boy, take a water, allegedly take off running. The Korean store owner chase him down. The Vietnamese store owner, uh, forgive me if I'm chopping up the, you know, I don't really care for the guy, right? He's a criminal. He's a criminal, and he chased down a young kid, a young teenage kid, and hit him in the back and unalived him over water, right? This is seller owner relationship, right? So the black community doesn't own anything. Even inside the black community, we don't own most of those stores. So we are being consumed because we have to shop there, right? We have to shop there. And since we have to shop there, our kids have to put up with people that are sometimes xenophobic. That's the foundation. They are in fear of the people that they are selling products to. And I'm not saying that it's easy to sell these products to this community. I'm not saying it's easy to police this community. However, when you are familiar with this community and you know this community, you feel for those babies, right? You don't aim guns at them for $1 waters because you have a kid that looks like that. You have a cousin that look like that. You know what I mean? You have a you get my point. So ownership is very, very important. But we don't own in this country. And since we don't own in this country, we're always at the bottom. And and when you look at hip hop, everybody loves mainstream hip hop because the diamonds, the clothes, the jewelry, this. And when you look at it, I really love hip hop. I really do. And I used to want a record deal. I used to want a record deal. But one thing I realized is that you're just a slave. And I'm just a billboard. I'm just a billboard, right? To advertise for white billionaires. At one time, it was cool. We had the Carl Kanai jumping off. You know what I'm saying? In the early 90s. It was an era where we had Fubu going. And we had, when I was growing up, we had Fubu. We had, I'm aging myself like a mud, right? We had products like you had the Shine John. We had, you had Rockaware. It was an era of a boom of, I don't even know. I think they was black owned. Fat Farm was definitely black owned. You know what I'm saying? Apple bottom jeans. We had our own thing, and then it went into this era. And I'm gonna blame Pac. I blame Pac and Big. They was one of the first ones to get on that Versace and all this stuff, the high European brands that really don't usually got no love for us, right? That was them that started that, right? Now it's all about Versace, and that's as much as I love Pac, as much as you love Pac. We have to ask, how can a brother start? You know what I'm saying? That started about the community, and now all of a sudden it's all about Versace. Now we arguing about Versace, $1,000 shirts that niggas in the hood can't own anyway. How to get to that point? It's the consumerism, it's the capitalism in hip hop. It became a billboard. Versace frames. You see what I'm saying? Machino on my bitches. That's what Big say. Just the way players play all day, every day. You know what I'm saying? It's hip hop. It's we bragging about European fashion and European brands that we don't own. So mainstream hip hop is all there to be influencers. These are influencers. We say, oh, why these rappers ain't good no more? Yeah, because they only sign influencers. You got to have a lot of followers, a lot of Instagram followers, because you're an influencer now. You just an influencer. I'm screaming into the mic, but I'm passionate about this because they had my mind for a minute, right? I thought it was about skill, which it used to be, but then it became about influencing the sale, right? The rapper that's in the video, the car is rented, but that's a commercial. That's a commercial for Mercedes, right? That's a commercial for Johnny Dang. These rappers is just commercials to sell brands to shit we don't own. You know what I'm saying? Niggas, we grew up wearing polo. I swear I polo down. And at times it's like, man, yo, I like to stay fly, but it's like I'm part of the problem too. They got me too, but I'm trying to come out of that shit because I know wrong is wrong, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I understand the values. I'm not saying you can't, it's America, so we can rock what we want, but at the same time, we got to realize when we look at this on the grand scale of things, ownership is what controls. Ownership is what gives you power, and we don't have no power, and that's what Jody was telling P. Right? You can look good, you can do this, you can do that, but you don't own it. Rap labels, we don't own them labels. We don't sign no artists. All we do is complain which artists they gave us. Why we don't sign the artists if we don't like them? They giving it to us. You get what I'm saying? So how long we gonna play the game? That's Kanye West said right there, right? I mean, how long we want to be slaves? Because that part right there, slavery is a choice right there in that aspect because you own your attention. Don't give it no attention. If niggas is putting out corny ass movies, because for a long time niggas putting out the dumbest black movies, right? And I know niggas like watching dumb shit, but at the same time, it's like for us black movie lovers, we like A24 type shit, and we demand better type of films that make you think, films that get creative in that, and you're seeing a surge of that come up more often outside of the Tubi realm. You know what I mean? But that's something that's demanded. That's something that we have to stand for. Anyway, back to the point. You know what I'm saying? The God, I talk in circles at times. But what I'm saying is this: when you deal with Thomas Sowell, you have to you talking to bridge gaps, right? You would never compare the Israeli to the Palestinian financially, right? Not in that area financially. So why would you compare the black American to the white American financially? It makes no sense if you know history. So everything Thomas Sowell is saying makes sense if you don't know history and if you throw pieces out of history. But if you know history, you can fill in those gaps and shut that argument down in 2 minutes. See, he tried to say we blacks coming out of the South learned from rednecks. We were the builders during slavery. We was the builders. What are you talking about? We was the builders. We built the cotton gin. We built that stuff. A lot of them took the credit, but we was the builders. So when we came out of slavery, we built our own towns. We built our own businesses. What are you talking about? We was enslaved for 400 years. My ancestors was enslaved for 400 years. Going back to 1493, Papa Bull of 1493. That's when Christopher Columbus first started moving around. That's when he first started moving around. You got to go back to 1490. And we ain't kept out to the late 1800s. And then even then, they lied to blacks in Texas and had them in there for some years. And then if you want to get out of the FBA bag and go into that, blacks in Africa didn't even get the apartheid was going on in the 1900s, early 1990s. So this shit didn't stop. South Africa's still trying to get their land back. So this shit didn't stop. Still going on in the Congo right now. M1 rebels, funded by who? The game don't stop. What are you talking about? Conference of Berlin. They divided Africa like a pie. They colonized black America. Most black Americans was already here on this land. You thought they just colonized parts of Africa? No, colonialism took part here too. Niggas got enslaved right on their land. That's why I was so many rebellions like Nat Turner's, because you know what I'm saying? Niggas knew the land. They didn't bring everybody over here on the ship, but that's a whole nother story for another time. You know what I'm saying? You the victors write the story. We do the knowledge. You get what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is this. You cannot, when you listen to Thomas Sowell, when you listen to that stuff, it sounds good. But you have to tell the whole story. You don't like the inner city black Oh, I don't like the image of the black. He's on TV, he's on media. Okay, who signed him? Because we don't own the labels. We don't own the labels. So don't get mad at us. We don't like it either. Most of us don't like it either. You think you don't like it? We really don't like it. So that's bull. We got to come out of that. So that argument gets thrown out. You compare us to rednecks down south. Rednecks was never enslaved for 400 years, and then directly came out of the slavery and built towns, and then got the towns blown up by their own government. I'm just giving you history. This is historical facts, right? And the survivors of that in Tulsa, Oklahoma, still can't get their just due. Still fighting in court for that to this day. How my boy Deontay Wilder say? To this day. To this day. Dr. King's, the all the that movement that Dr. King had, the civil rights movement, Reconstruction, that gave blacks some type of level of equality. They want to throw that out. Thomas Sowell want to throw that out. He talked like that didn't like that had no place. It was a reason for that. It was because it was unfair, it was unbalanced. If you hold a group for 400 years and then you let them free, and you didn't let them free until you own all the businesses, you own all the car dealerships, you own all the gas stations, you own all the ammunition spots, you own all the military, you own all this. How can they compete with you? How can they compete with you? And then you own media. You making films like Birth of a Nation, the first one. Propaganda films, white actors in blackface running around saying that they are going to terrorize white women, and then we see media at work, lynchings and the KKK rise in the South after that film. Propaganda films, right? How many blacks was enslaved in jails in down south? You better watch Mississippi Burning. You better watch Mississippi Burning. Until the government came down south, the South wasn't acting right. The whites in the South wasn't acting right. They wasn't running. If you did anything down there, they held the jury, all white jury, and it was a wrap for you. They didn't care. You called the police down with the Klan too. Um, I want to say it was Broken Bow. It was somewhere in Oklahoma last year. Two detectives got caught on tape saying, "Man, back in the day, we could bust their ass and throw them in the cell, lynch them, all this stuff. But now they got more. Now they got more laws than us. Now they got more rights than we do." What was he saying? So when you say Dr. King shit didn't matter, that didn't matter. What are you talking about? Those did you hear what they said on that tape? Without them laws making it equal, anything goes. And that's what Trump is doing right now. He's making it where anything goes. So Thomas Sowell is an agent. He's an agent. He's been an agent, a long time agent of white supremacy. He puts out these books. He make it sound good, and we finding a lot of black kids that are joining the conservative side, turning into anti-black personalities. Right? We see the kid Solomon Henderson in Tennessee. Right? His whole manifesto is anti-black. Who did he love? Candace Owens. Who did Candace Owens come from? Thomas Sowell. Teaches you to look down on your people. If you want to hear black accountability, I can give you black scholars who teach black accountability without teaching black self-hate. You know, I can give you that. But if you listen to anti-black this, anti-black that all day, all night, you will begin to hate niggas. And then you will begin to hate yourself. I'm just giving it to you raw, man. I'm just giving it to you as raw as I can. Because there's a lot of things going on right now. We see as they are rolling these DEI programs back, it's almost like they just couldn't wait because they couldn't. They, we gave a lot of money to Target. We gave a lot of money to Walmart, right? But since we didn't own it, they just couldn't wait. It just couldn't wait. When you watch Killers of the Flower Moon, right? The oil, uh, it was a tribe. I forget. I don't want to butcher their names. The name of the tribe in Oklahoma that hit big in, I believe, the 1920s or the 1930s, right? 1920s, because it was around the time of Black Wall Street. They hit big on this oil rig and they got filthy rich, right? But the whites, and I'm not banging on the whites. I'm just giving you history, right? Um, for the record, my stepmother is white. You know what I mean? And today is her birthday, so I want to say happy birthday to you. Yep, and I love you, right? So yes, we not banging on the whites. We just giving you history raw, you know, and everybody deserves to know the truth, right? It's important for white kids to know the truth. It's important for white kids to know the history, like it's important for black kids to know the history. White kids got to know the history so they can have respect for other groups of people, right? If you have black people saying, "Well, we should just teach our black kids at home." We don't have to. We don't. It's cool with Trump taking the black history out of school because we can just teach that at home. Well, no, you pay taxes too, and you are an American too, and Black American history is American history too. So white kids need to learn that too, because this is a multicultural society. It's good to know it all, my brother. It's good for kids to know it all, so they can be better than how we grew up, better than how our parents grew up. We can kill the racism by not trying to hide it, but um, letting all people know that everybody contributed, all groups contributed to America, and that's what makes America so great. See, what makes America so great is that it's so many races under one roof, right? I don't have to go to China. I can go to the Chinese district. I can go to Chinatown. I don't have to go to Haiti. I can go to Little Haiti, right? I don't have to go to you get my point. You get my point, right? The only thing is that we just have to all be able to get along, and that's something that we can learn from some of these young college students on these campuses. They all move as one. They all, at times you have ones that have been radicalized right now because the Theo Vaughn and all these right wing podcasts are trying to pull the white boys back with the white masculinity, but it's really more of to me it's more of a weakness, but it's coming off as to me it's more fragility, what they would call it, but it's coming off it's masqueraded as masculinity, right? A real man that's masculine doesn't have to go on, he doesn't have to go all out to show that, right? You just are, right? It's like if you a person of knowledge, you don't have to wear a hat that say I got knowledge, because you are it, you became it, right? So with the Thomas Sowell thing, I have to bang on Thomas Sowell even though he's my elder. I have to bang on Thomas Sowell because I feel like, you know he is, what he's doing when you look at the Solomon Henderson thing is very, very disingenuous, and a lot of brothers in the right wing conservative movement are making a lot of money off of it because the algorithm is rewarding anti-blackness, right? And you are getting put it on these right wing podcasts where you can get your name off because you sitting there talking a lot of BS. You know what I'm saying? And you never getting challenged by any black scholars who can pick that BS apart, right? Charleston White sit up there and talking to say cheese. I mean, who have Charleston White actually sat down with? 85 South? He not sitting down with no scholars. He's sitting down with a bunch of dumb niggas. No disrespect. So nobody pushing back, when they bring Thomas Sowell out there, it's in a room full of white conservatives. So he's saying things they want to hear. You don't learn from saying I'm gonna tell you something before I bounce, right? You don't learn from saying things that you don't learn from hearing saying things that you want to hear. That's confirmation bias. That's ceremonial feel good, right? That's feel good ceremony. That's, yeah, man. Yeah, you right. Yeah, you right. Yeah, you right. You right. See, that's not how you learn. You learn from You know, if you learn from finding out things that you didn't know, getting new perspectives, right? So that foundation thing that we started with, which was our foundation to this build, right? That was our foundation to this build. See, I brought it back home, right? And I'm shooting off the hip, one of the illest. Let me stop, man. That's a flex. But on the real though, right? Don't be afraid of new information, right? If new information comes, be willing to throw out the old and bring in the new. That's called decluttering, right? You will never forget your foundation and the person who hipped you on to this shit, right? But you must go wherever knowledge takes you. And if you don't, then you have reached a piece of knowledge where you're no longer growing, right? You reach the point of knowledge where you're no longer growing. Now you're stagnant. Now you're just stagnant. Now you like them niggas on the corner, right? You stagnant. They clone Tyrone. Every day becomes the same. All your knowledge is the same. The man that knows one book knows none. That's what the master teacher said. The man that knows one book don't know none. So you got to get it all. You got to get it all, and you got to not be afraid of a nigga crushing Thomas Sowell shit. A nigga like me will crush Thomas Sowell shit. Any of you Thomas Sowell fans, I do have. I want to come back on the humble. I do respect you, even if we disagree. However, I want you to know that I can help you broaden, your horizon as far as knowledge goes, to piece some of those pieces, put some of those pieces. See, when I always listen to Candace Owens, right? I can listen to Candace Owens because my foundation is not Candace Owens. My foundation is not Thomas Sowell. So when I listen to her, I can listen to that as almost an entertainment aspect at times to see what she think. I don't, like I just said, you don't always want to listen to people to come to an agreement, right? So I'm listening to her, and I disagree a lot of the time, but it's okay. I'm learning how Republicans think. I'm catching up with the new Thomas Sowell, right? She's the new Thomas Sowell. I'm catching up with the Alex Jones BS, right? I don't agree with half the Alex Jones say. I know it's nonsense, but I sit there, I peep it out, right? I peep it out, but I can do that because my foundation. I'm not rooted in the foundation of I'm gonna join his group. Oh yeah, I'm gonna join this group. I'm gonna join these talking points. No, I'm listening to it, but I got my own mind. I'm my own man, right? I'm my own man. I move off my own moves, so I can hear that and not become a clone of it because I already have enough knowledge in me, enough different perspectives in me, enough of my own critical thinking to take that and say, I don't know about that, Candace. That sounds like some cat, and I can tell you why. Not just to fight back, but just to say it's cap because it is. Okay, well, what you think about that? Okay, well, how do you explain that? And then Candace Owens is debunked because also you have never really seen her sit down and talk to any scholars. Talking to T.I., even though I know T.I. know hella big words, he's not a scholar. Killer Mike ain't no scholar. I respect Killer Mike. He ain't no scholar. You know what I mean? He ain't no scholar to really just take her down. Pretty sure he could, though. He probably could pick apart most of her shit, because her shit ain't really, she's selling it to white conservatives, that's an easy what's the that's an easy help me out audience, right? That's an easy audience to sell this to, right? When we was in the suburbs, you could sell the grams with an extra 5-10 on it. You could weigh it with the baggie. It's they gullible. That's a gullible audience, right? So they're it's easy to sell them things, right? When I would get in trouble, I would have to go live with my father. At the time, he lived in the suburbs. I would make some plays out there, right? And I do all kind of pull all my tricks out the bag. I finesse game crazy, right? Back in the day, weighing with the baggie. This old school. Y'all niggas don't understand. Put an extra stick in. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Niggas like, what they gonna do, right? They hit you back like, oh man, I appreciate that. You looked out for me. Finesse. So this Thomas Sowell is a hustle. You see the Cartier family, you see the Hodge twins. This is just a hustle. This is just a hustle. Most of these people don't really believe what they saying, and they just all using Thomas Sowell as the guy for uh, the black conservative ideology, you know. But again, uh, bring it to a table. If it's real, bring it to the table, right? Bring it to the scholars, and then we'll dismantle it with ease, right? Because there's no comparison. You can't not compare a group that was enslaved for 400 years. And I'm not using that as an excuse. Niggas know better. Niggas do know better. But niggas don't own shit. Niggas don't own shit. Banks have been just Google. You can just Google this and it'll debunk bank sued for discrimination. House and market screwed for racial discrimination. Donald Trump in the 70s screwed for housing discrimination. It's systematic too. You can't leave that part out. You just can't leave that. That's just something you can't leave out. It's American history. The kids need to know it. Right? So when they want you to not know it, so you can say them niggas is lazy. That's Thomas Sowell's whole purpose, right? And that's what they trying to push to you, right? That preacher pork chop, the nigga that was at Donald Trump inauguration, buck dancing, right? You know what I'm saying? He wanted them too, man. He a Thomas Sowell preacher pork chop nigga too, right? And that's what the black conservative moving like right now, you know what I'm saying? And we just gotta let them know that we can be all about accountability. We can be all about building, all about stopping the violence. Y'all know me. I'm totally against stopping black on black violence and the ignorance. Black fathers staying with their kids. We can do all that without Thomas Sowell putting us down in the process. Putting us down in the process, tearing us down in the process. We can do it all. You know what I'm saying? We can do it all. We don't need that. We don't need to try to do the conservative group economics. You know what I'm saying? I yoke a nigga up by the throat for saying he woke. You know what I'm saying? Yoke a nigga up by the throat for saying he woke, but ain't do the knowledge. He ain't do the knowledge. You gotta do the knowledge. Group economics is more powerful than the vote. I yoke a nigga up by a throat for saying he woke, cause he ain't do the knowledge. Yeah, man, something like that. But yeah, man, we gonna wrap this one up. You know what I'm saying? It was fun. Uh, yeah, man, have a little more respect for your people, man. Uh, peace.